Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel Learning Point. This is Palak Jain and today we are going to understand about Factories Act 1948. Now we'll understand that how Factories Act is introduced in India. In the year 1881, the Factories Act was firstly enacted in India, after which this act has been amended several times on many occasions, and after 1881 the Factories Act 1934 was passed, replacing all the previous legislation. So after 1881 the Factories Act was passed in the year 1934, and this act was drafted in the light of Royal Commission on Labour. This act has also been suitably amended from time to time. But Factories Act 1934 revealed a number of defects and weaknesses which hampered effective administration of this act. Therefore, the Factories Act 1948 was introduced, consolidating and amending the law relating to labour in factories. And Factories Act 1948 was passed by the Constituent Assembly in August 28, 1948. And this act received the assent of Governor General of India on 23rd September 1948. This act came into force on April 1st, 1949. What is Factories Act 1948? The Factories Act 1948, it's a labour law and it is enacted to ensure the welfare of factory workers. Welfare activities like providing drinking water facilities, restrooms and adequate lighting to the workers, providing first aid to workers when needed, and it also regulates their working conditions. So working conditions like fixing working hours and restricting women and young workers from working in night shifts and hazardous works. The Act outlines provisions to promote safety provisions like ensuring machines are properly maintained and providing workers helmets and gloves to wear for safety purpose. It also outlines provision to hygiene facilities like regular cleaning of premises and disposal of waste, and providing them a conducive working environment. So it also provides a favorable working environment while also addressing issues related to working hours. This act ensures that the workers should not work on national holidays and they are entitled for annual leaves. This act gives importance to improve the quality of life for industrial workers, and it also gives importance to boost productivity of the workers but in a safe manner. Now we'll understand that what are the changes that were introduced by the Factories Act 1948. So first one is the definition of the term factory was widened. So according to Factories Act 1948, any industrial establishment where 10 or more workers are employed and where power is used is known as factory, and any industrial establishment where 20 and more workers are employed and where power is not used is also known as factory. In Factories Act 1948, the difference between seasonal and non-seasonal factories was abolished. There was no difference between seasonal and non-seasonal factories. In Factories Act 1948, the basic provisions of health, safety and welfare are extended to every employee in the workplace except premises where processes are carried on by the occupier with the sole aid of his family. So there were provisions for health, safety and welfare for every worker is employed. So there were also provisions which were made for children's. So the minimum age for admission of children to employment has been raised from 12 to 14 years to work in factories, and the minimum permissible daily hours of work of children were reduced from 5 to 4.5 hours. In Factories Act 1948, provisions are made for the licensing and registration of factories. And for this purpose, factory inspectors are appointed to oversee adherence to the Act. They can inspect premises, examine records and ensure compliance with safety norms. Next point, employment of children and women between 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. is prohibited in Factories Act 1948, and if a worker does overtime, the workers are entitled to twice their normal rate of wages. For overtime, workers will receive twice of their normal rates of wages. Next point, the state governments are empowered to make rules requiring the association of the workers in the management of arrangements for the welfare of workers. Next point, a factory shall not include a mine or a mobile unit belonging to the armed forces of the Union, a railway running shed or hotel, restaurant or eating places. So any mine or a mobile unit belonging to the armed force of the Union, or a railway running shed or hotel, restaurant or eating place will not come under the term factory. So guys, remaining part of Factories Act 1948 will cover in next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.